At Chinese restaurants, the soy sauce is nothing like the soy sauce that you would get if you just got some Eco Man and poured it on there. The duck sauce, I don't know what that is. It looks like something that you would put on a cream cheese and jelly sandwich.
like it, but you're right. It's usually very bright orange. Like, I don't
Very
think
weird.
When you go there, it doesn't look like that.
Never.
It's like an orange. Like, why is it so orange? It's like neon.
And the biggest fraud this side of Sam Bankman-Fried is Chinese mustard in a package. I don't even know what that is. You'd be better off. I would rather put Goulden's mustard, which I love, but on fried rice, it's not necessarily the kind of condiment that you would want to employ there. I would much rather put that on there than the stuff that comes out of the packages. So the issue was, if you ask for the house mustard, which is great, I mean, it really is. It not a perfect compliment, Lubie? I don't know how you feel about it.
I didn't grow up with the house mustard. So
I love that rush that you get when you get, some of it sticks to the spoon as you're stirring it in there. And then, you take that one bite when you're just like, okay, I'm going to grab a bite here before you sit down and start eating this stuff. And then, boom, all of a sudden your head explodes. You have ideas that come to you that you've never, ever conceived of before. Beautiful women flash before your eyes. And then you go, wow, I still have this whole bowl of fried rice. It just makes the dish.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Morning, everybody. Great to be with you on this fine Thursday. And we have another edition of the Defo Show that's about to unfold here. And it also includes the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge, Jeff DeForest, along with one Mike Lubie Lubitz. And you might be seeing, I'm seeing some improvement already here, Lubie. This mishuganous stuff that you had to go through because of our attempts to do one clean Tony Bruno Sports Network radio show. Now, you say that this was like putting up Christmas lights all around your house yesterday. Did you have a ladder out? How exactly did you straighten this out? You are now with a ball and chain. It's almost like you got married for the second time. Well, you did get married for the second time, and it hasn't been a ball and chain. You're the one guy that has gone reverse osmosis on marriage. That is fantastic because you're a happy man this time around. Is that a fair clarification?
I'm happy as you're ever going to be married.
It is one of those oxymorons, isn't it? Happily married.
100%.
Jumbo shrimp. How could a shrimp be a jumbo? I guess you could be a large version of a small thing.
You can.
Well, I mean, look, I'm Jewish. I know all about that. Not a particularly large version either.
Oh, Jesus.
One of those things where you're always wearing shorts in the locker room.
Oh.
No, not to get into all of that. That's kind of a weak area to dive into at the top of the show. We have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge with Dave Gurggles Gergely coming up. That's coming up in just a few minutes here, about 7-8 minutes away. We'll get into that. You can dial us up if you want to play the game at 954-417-0070, 954-417-0070. All right, because we've had various forms of crapping out on that Tony Bruno Sports Network radio show, which it's funny, too, because I've been doing this forever, Lubie. You've been in it a long time also now. I mean, you're zooming in on what? Closing in on 15, 20 years in the business?
13 years with you, but I didn't start there. I started at iHeart, and I was doing sports stuff and different radio stuff by age of 24, and I did it in college for a couple of years. So I've been doing it probably about 17 years. I've been doing this.
17 years, yeah. And we've had our share of successes, and we've certainly bombed down on a few things. The Jack Namer experience didn't exactly work out as we had expected.
Got us here.
Got us here. It gave us a start. If we would react more quickly to the fact that you have to be able to recognize when it's about to be a flop, right? Talking about, Frazee, the guy that ended up financing No Nanette and selling the Bambino in the process. Henry Frazee. Babe Ruth, I don't know if he's all that great. Why don't I sell him to the Yankees and finance a shitty Broadway show? Oklahoma. It wasn't that, but No Nanette. Do you know anything about that play besides the fact that it was part of the reason for the Babe Ruth transaction? No. So you have to be able to recognize, though, that something is a failure right at the beginning. If you can do that, you can stave off a lot of grief. So we've had our struggles, but I would have to say now I've been doing this. If you go back and count my years in California, so you're looking at 6 there and 42 here.
Almost 50 years.
48 years in this racket, and yet here I am at 72 years old, and I couldn't be more excited about the possibilities of the Tony Bruno Sports Network. Now, that could be because funds are dwindling and, the mom's inheritance money is not looking as fat as it did at one point. Love you, Ma. Thank you. What a bailout that was. That kind of came at the right time. I think that I was just getting my piece of that action as the call came on that fateful September 21st, 2021 day. We're going in another direction. And it's like, what direction is that?
In the toilet.
Well, I mean, they essentially put themselves out of business. I mean, that was great. Although they're still doing business. But under what auspices? I don't know. Sports Radio 940. Do they even have a tag?
They have the Dolphins.
Yes.
And we're now in, what is it, week 9? We had 9 games. The Dolphins are 6-3, right? So we've had 9 games. Week 10 is this week, I guess. And people are still asking, where are the Dolphins? And
the Dolphins' goal all along was, and the reason that they left the previous destination that they were on, or radio station, QAM, was because they wanted to be on an FM station. That was always the goal of many of these teams. I don't even know if that matters anymore. Is anybody listening to games on the radio?
They're not.
It is a dead art at this point.
Well, because the thing is, every cable company has an app. So what you can do is, I don't know if it's safe, and my wife doesn't like that I do this, but I do. You put it on your fucking phone, and you have Iron Eagle. And I love Jimmy Cephalo. He's not fucking Ian. Like, you have Iron Eagle calling a visual game.
Fair to say that Jimmy's calls are not exactly going to make you forget about any of the greats of the game at this stage. We love Jimmy, great guy, but it's been suspect at best, even from the beginning.
I'm not even trying to say Jimmy, any local guy. Like, I can watch it in my on my phone in my car, just have it up there, and whenever I hit a light, I can watch it. Why would I listen? Like, and if I'm doing it, there's no way other people aren't. Like, so listening to a game on the radio is dumb. Like, I'm just not gonna lie to you. Like, it is. Like, doing what we do on the radio is one thing. Like, we're entertaining you. You don't have to see us. It doesn't need to be visual. So whether you watch us or listen to us, I think both work in a car. Like, if I can have it where I can watch it, especially a game, and listen to it, the point of
giant advantage for sure. Yeah, because if something happens and you hear the announcer going crazy, I can't believe it. You have the ability to just go ahead and watch what's transpiring, or see a replay or something along those lines, where you don't have that luxury if you're just listening to a radio call. I feel for Joe Zagacki when he's calling those games, because he puts a lot of enthusiasm into it. But you're asking yourself, and Don Bailey Jr., a great guy, and you're asking yourself, who on earth is plugged into the radio anymore? And it used to be a big thing. And believe me, I love radio. I really do. Of all the mediums I've been involved in, all the different things, projects, whether it was streaming, TV, national TV, I always loved doing radio shows. It was my favorite medium, and I always enjoyed listening. And I enjoyed listening to ball games. Grew up with that. That was the way that you got your play-by-play action. You had maybe one game a week on TV. We've talked about this many times. So if you were a Knicks fan, for example, and they played 3 games that week, only one of them at best. And I think it might have been, some of you old-timers will remember, it might have been like every other week you got a Knicks game on TV if you were living in New York. Because every other week they would feature the Rangers on television in the 6-team NHL. So most of your activity in terms of listening to and observing sports came via the old transistor radio. I have one right here, my mom's transistor. Should I hold it up as a show and tell? Yeah.
Why not? You have it.
I have it here. I keep it because this is what my mother used to listen to me on every day. And what was great, like you were talking about, Lubie, how my dad used to call in with criticisms, and he would correct me, and he would say, no, that wasn't from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And he would tell you to pass this along to me,
On air. I'm like, can you just go on air? He's like, no, I don't want to talk to him.
Which may not be, the characterization that should be depicted here in the show, because my dad was a very loving person. And
no, that was his dedication. He wasn't being a jerk. He was making sure you were on. He was a very well-read, bright intellectual, and he wanted his son to present himself the best way possible. So,
well, you don't want me to fake it like I had my whole life. I told Mayo this, that he's a victim of being too smart. That it can be its own detriment. Whereas if you don't know everything and you are not intellectually as stimulated as others, you can get by by just saying, so what? Who gives a fuck? Look at him yesterday. I mean, he was all over this thing about standard time and daylight savings time. Well, everybody knows what you're talking about. So what's the difference, right? Now, you're going to sit there for 20 minutes and argue about it? Well, no, it's standard time, Defo.
Who cares?
Like, hey, who gives a fuck? Just eat another sandwich. We have that coming up 12 o'clock later on today. That's usually a food bloodbath.
Yeah.
Over there at Gilbert's. We'll be down there 17th Street. If you want a great place to eat, I mean, what a great lunch spot that is, huh? Talk about the lunchbox. I mean, it's good all day long, but wow, I mean, you go in there, it's mind-blowing. And then the people there are ridiculous with the amount of food that they put on the table because they want you to try a little bit of everything, which we don't get to do. I usually grab a couple of sweet potato fries, and then the rest of it gets slimed along the way.
Like you're always trying to get me to eat. I don't have an appetite during the show, and I love Mayo, and I hope he's appetizing to our viewers. But watching him do whatever he does, I just wait for the aftermath. Like,
yeah, particularly on those shows he does from his house there. Like yesterday, he literally like dipped his face in a bowl of soup, and you had no idea what he was doing. All of a sudden, he just disappeared from the camera. And you're like, well, what are you doing? And then you hear this slurping.
See, it bothers you. I think it's funny.
It doesn't really bother me. It's just I'm looking at it in amazement going, I mean, not that everything we do is entertaining, but I'm thinking this is this man's judgment of entertainment. Because then he'll like be talking with a mouthful of matzo ball. And I'm asking myself, if you were a first-time starter and you just tuned this in and you thought, wow, this ought to be interesting, a show about food, and then you just watch some guy eating like he just raided a garbage can after not eating for 3 days. You wonder. I mean, is the message? What is the message here? I'm not exactly sure. We don't want to get too deeply into that because we have a lot of sports to cover, and then we have the trivia challenge. You say that Gurggles has tested his camera.
Yes.
And I mean, we've been having nothing but technical difficulties lately on a variety of levels and platforms. We were stiffed a couple of times on our No Filter show. Yeah. Got started there, and all of a sudden, I'm looking at the screen. Everybody's freezing up. I'm thinking we're trying to just execute a simple 15-minute thing here, and we can't do it.
Yeah.
Why has this become so complicated? And then the Bruno show has been somewhat of a mess, even though Lubie, if you don't get producer of the year for the week of shows that you put together this week, and another monster coming up later on today at 10 o'clock with John Feinstein, who we had to reschedule from the day he was originally booked because we didn't know if we could get him on the air. And does this sound like a consistent theme? Yeah, we didn't know if we could even get on the air. And we didn't have him the day after Bobby Knight checked out, which would have been the most appropriate interview you possibly could have gotten, save for talking to Knight himself. So he's going to join us today. And my good friend Brad Jacobs, the CEO of Top Rank Boxing, he's evolved to the top position there and has held that for a couple of years. Bob Arum must be, getting close to 90. Although he's still pretty active, but not as much so in terms of running the daily operations of the company. But boxing, I mean, it's ridiculous to say that boxing is in a state of flux, but it certainly is in a state where they need to figure out exactly what's going to happen next. Now, they're getting all kinds of money from the Saudis to stage matches over there. Did you see any of the pictures?
I mean, I'm glad. Brad, that's what I like about Brad is, he and Pacquiao had a thing, but he still was very honest about it. He and whoever, he'll come on and be honest with us. Tyson Fury is one of the remaining stars in the game. Even though he doesn't box like a star, he actually did enough where he's a name people know. It was like 3:00 in the fucking afternoon on like a Saturday, and I'm like, oh, what a round. I'm like, what a round. I'm like, what the fuck? There was no way to do it. And then, like, you and I sort of talked about, what was it, Ngawe? I don't even know.
Francis Ngannou was the guy's name, I believe.
And on Twitter, people, I guess, were watching, so good for them. But we do this for a living, and Sarnia can make fun of me all he wants. I pay attention to the fucking events, especially with you with boxing. And I'm like, 6th round. I'm like, what the fuck? It was like 3:30. I'm like,
yeah.
This is Tyson Fury. They're like, Tyson Fury. I'm like, Fury's in a fight right now. Like, it's not even Klitschko when he's in Russia or whatever the fuck. Like, this is Fury who fights primetime every fight. I'm like, what are they doing? I'm like, what fight is this? Like,
well, you would have considered it more of an exhibition. I mean, if you think about it, it was ridiculous that the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight was one of the largest grossing pay-per-view events of all time. Mayweather had been robbing the public with those performances for years, and every time that you paid for a Mayweather fight, and people would have parties and have 20 people come out. I used to have like 30, 40 people show up at my house because I was buying a fight. Now, none of them went to their pocket and said, "Here, Deef, I'd like to make a contribution for the 79.95 you're getting robbed of by watching these Mayweather fights." And I was like a lot of people. I'm thinking, is there anybody here that's going to get in there and challenge this cat? And then the biggest disappointment, I saw a replay of it recently, and it was interesting because Brad was in the ring, and it actually inspired me to give him a call, where he was guiding Manny Pacquiao around, and that was his job originally with Top Rank Boxing. One of his assignments was to make sure that everything was going smoothly with Manny Pacquiao, or whatever part of the world they happened to be fighting in.
Yep.
If they were in the Philippines, bingo, there was Brad Jacobs. If they were in Australia where Pacquiao had a fight, there was Brad Jacobs. And he was in the ring for the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, which watching a few rounds of what was deemed to be action, it may not have been the worst fight of all time, but wow, what a bitter disappointment that turned out to be. So, he was very close with Manny Pacquiao. I first caught Pacquiao by total accident, though. We'll get into that story with Brad later on the radio show. But Brad Jacobs is going to join us. With Showtime dropping boxing, very few outlets. Top Rank has a deal with ESPN. They stage fights on ESPN, and that may be the only television deal of substance that's in existence right now. DAZN, I don't know what happened to DAZN.
They exist, I
and
think.
started with so much promise. I thought, wow, this is going to be great. And I remember Jimmy Rod got us involved there, or at least he had me calling some fights. It was an Amir Khan fight and a long card. And, I was calling the fights out of a studio, even though I guess, Hialeah, even though the fight was taking place somewhere in London. But, I always enjoyed doing that sort of thing. It was great. And I thought, this is the beginning of something big, but I don't see much about it. Very little steam. John Skipper, the guy with Levitard, took him down for about $300 million, buying rights to I think MLB highlights. And do they play any MLB highlights?
Well, I mean, MLB highlights they're boring. It's just a home run or
and a fly ball on that field.
You used to get great defensive plays, and they still happen, like you say, but you used to get tons of them all night long. And now, because no balls are in play, like out of Ozzie Smith.
Here's a lone highlight. It's a ground to short.
That's
the other 26 outs were recorded by strikeout.
Like, that's a sport that doesn't produce a lot of highlights. That's sort of the problem. Is this generation, the youth, live on the highlight, and they don't produce highlights. So.
Not a whole lot there. I'm not sure how many highlights are going to come out of this game tonight. You see this dreadful Thursday night matchup. There's an article too by this TV writer Andrew Marchand, I believe is his name, in the New York Post.
Oh Jesus, Panthers!
He did an interview with Al Michaels, kind of implying to Michaels, like, is it time to hang it up? That was the tone of the article. And Michaels is saying not necessarily, although he admitted that maybe he is not quite. Oh, you can see him? Wow.
What's funny is
he said it was not quite ready to hang it up.
What's funny is Michaels isn't doing a bad job. It's just
some horrible games.
Yeah, like, he's doing fine. He doesn't. I know you have a thing where you sort of mock him, but like the believe in miracles shit. But like when you watch him, he still sounds like Al Michaels, and he's not slow. He's not messing names up. Like, he still does a fine job.
Seems okay. Yeah.
In your 80s. Like, why? And he's made
78 years old, Al Michaels, 78.
And he's been national for what, 30 years, 40? Like,
most people would consider, as Marchand acknowledged in this, I don't know that I totally agree with him, but you would have to say he was one of the top guys without question. And
yes, he is.
It was always very solid. There was nothing you could look at and say, my God, this guy sucks. It's not like he was some screaming Gus Johnson. Right from the start. No, always very competent and very, a very palatable listen, if you will. It wasn't boring or anything. So Marchand was implying that he's lost a few miles off his fastball. I'm not sure that that's fair, but nonetheless, he's got the job there. Gets paid $1 million a game to do like 8 games a year and fly private jet one time a week.
That explains it.
Why would you give that job up? Never.
Like, fuck it. He's all week.
$1 million for the year for this particular, to call 8 football games. I mean, and Herb Street is the guy that's filling all of the time with analysis, and essentially Michael's saying that's going to bring up third down.
That's literally all he does.
Gain of 4. It's going to be 2nd and 6.
I would do it till I'm 90 and 99.
I would do it after I was dead, which you'd be capable of doing the way, the requirements of the job seem to shake out. All right, let's try it. It's, fingers across here. Dave Gurggles Gergely. Yes.
There he is.
There is a Gurggles, and he looks good.
Gurggles.
How are you, Gurgs? What happened? What'd they fix over there?
I don't know. We just kept trying, doing the Defo way, unplug it and plug it back in again. And it worked.
How many times did you see me staring at those various pieces of equipment?
Ooh, wow.
Before the radio version of the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge going, I don't know, Paulie, man. I'm not sure we're going to get on the air today.
Is the Defo way.
It always worked.
I don't know how we managed to engineer our way through all of the different situations and circumstances that we had, but somehow we pretty much, you would have to say, over the 25 years we were doing it, we were about 97% successful with it, which isn't bad. Not a bad percentage. Where we're struggling now in modern day radio with the Tony Bruno Sports Network, which is unfortunate. But we'll see what happens today. All right, Gurgs, we want to get into the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Anything exciting? Did you have any triumphant Breeders' Cup results? Hit any pick 5s, pick 6s?
Yeah, a buddy of mine and I always get together for that, and we had the pick 5 on Saturday, the early one that paid $5.50, a little chalky. But then we had the 50-cent turf pick 4, which come back $600. So that was beautiful. Nice. Yeah.
All right, so you cleaned up essentially.
No, I lost money, but at least we had that.
You cashed for 2 dimes, but you still lost money. That's called sending it in. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to go? I mean, we'll get the number out. We may as well just get right into this. 954-417-0070. 954-417-0070. It's the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. What do you want to do? You want to take a little time out here, Lubie? Okay. Let's get some messages in from our... I don't want to stiff the sponsors. And then we'll get in your telephone call. So line up 954-417-0070 if you want to play the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge on this fine Thursday. And we'll be back with Dave Gurggles Gergely and all the festivities in a moment. Now that. The time. 8:27. In style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Oh, Solo Volante will be coming late. Oh, Solo Volante, the Belmont's now 1 mile and an 8. The finish line is coming up quick. Luca Panici just switched the stick.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Polyman made an observation based on our commercial block a couple of weeks ago to me, and he said he doesn't think he would want to arm wrestle Michael Kodsey.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Man. And if you're wrestling with Banks, I'm telling you, this guy is great. He did me a solid. And I was going nowhere, spinning circles. So when I had enough assets easily to qualify for the loan, good credit rating, surprisingly, and money and all of that, but needed the money. The cash flow was a little bit slow. Dealt with a bank. They left me hanging for months. Called Michael Kotze. A week later, I had my money. It was unbelievable. Does a great job. Oh, you got people in the background, Lubie. Can you introduce us?
That's my associate producer. No, that's the lady keeps this place looking good.
Oh, okay.
Miriam. Hola, Miriam.
Well, we thought you had stashed a woman in the back there, which
No. No problem.
Very good. All right, we're going to get into it. 954-417-0070. It's the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Mike Lubie Lubitz has a gift certificate he's going to give you to Landlubbers, and that's an outstanding sports bar and restaurant that's located in Plantation, Pine Island, and Sunrise. Yes. He will have his live version of the Trivia Challenge, but it's a different version, an expanded version, and includes more topics and subjects other than sports. Yeah. Very interesting. The professor's involved, so it gets very intellectually sophisticated as well, and always a good challenge. So we'll get right into it. He's going to be there tonight. Gurggles has shown up on occasion, but usually he comes in unannounced.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You like to make the surprise guest appearance where all of a sudden Elvis shows up on the set of the Johnny Carson show, and even Johnny was unaware of it. It's always good when Gurggles is on the scene there. But Lubie and the professor do a great job. Landlubbers, you get a gift certificate there if you win the title today. So let's get right into it. We heard from the Polyman with his stellar rendition of Solo Volante. And we'll start the game out in the somewhat traditional fashion, with Dave Gurggles Gergely in the Polyman's role and some
easy baseball. This Reds manager, after a couple of tough losses on the road, addressed his team as follows. Okay, guys, there'll be 2 buses leaving the hotel for the park tomorrow. The 2:00 bus will be for those of you who need a little extra work, and the empty bus will leave at 5:00. Dave Bristol Myers, Burlington Bristol Bridge, or Marshall Bridges?
By the way, new manager for the Angels. It's not going to be the Buckster, Ron Washington, the former Texas Rangers manager.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Angels' job there. It's going to be a tough assignment without Ohtani. All right, we have, believe it or not, Lenny the Chronic to start us out today. Chronic, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you, guys. How's everybody?
Everybody's good.
Morning, Lenny.
Real good. You have 1 point. You're in the game.
All right, baseball, Lenny, true or false? Believe it or not, the New York Yankees, in all their storied history, are just one of 2 teams who have never had a mascot. True or false?
Interesting.
I say true.
True. False?
Who's their mascot?
From 1979 to 1981, you saw them, and you didn't see them in the stands too much. They had a mascot named Dandy, like Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Wow. Well, what did it look like?
Wow.
What did he or she look like? Do we know?
Was it a candy cane?
You'd probably have to YouTube it to find out.
Was it actually Dolphin Denny moonlighting as a Yankee mascot?
No. It's called Yankee
He was pretty
Dandy.
nondescript.
Yep, he was probably, yeah.
All right. Once again,
right.
you bamboozled Lenny the Chronic on a true-false question. So
all of us.
he's used to this. I should just have this on tape. You have 1, Lenny, going for 4.
Exactly.
There you go.
All right, NFL football. In 2022, the NFL selected 19 different teams to play in a regular season game outside the United States. The teams then could select the countries they might like to play in. The Eagles were one of them. They selected 3 different countries. Which of the following was not one of the countries they selected to play in? Ghana, Australia, Switzerland, or New Zealand?
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. Holy Azuma Nelson.
My God. I go with Ghana.
That's what I would have said, but it probably isn't, right?
Oh, that's the obvious one. No. Believe it or not, the Eagles will never be neutral. Hence, they will play in Switzerland.
Oh, that's about right.
That's a tough bunch of customers there, man. We don't want any of this sitting on a fence sort of thing. 1 going for 6, Lenny. Set the pace here in a Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge for today's edition.
All right, Lenny, let's give you a baseball question. Who was the first Latin American World Series MVP?
Interesting.
Tony Perez, Pedro Guerrero, Fernando Valenzuela, Roberto Alomar Jr.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. Who was the first Latin American World Series MVP? Tony Perez, Pedro Guerrero, Fernando Valenzuela, or Roberto Alomar Jr.?
Wasn't it? I think it's one. It was Roberto Clemente, but let's go with Tony Perez.
Tony.
No, it was 1981. Pedro Guerrero.
Guerrero. Wow, with the Dodgers.
Bombs away.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Wow, Lenny the Chronic.
After Clemente, then the question should read, Lenny, the question should read after Clemente then, and you still got it wrong. Okay.
Wow.
Did Clemente win? Like, that's the thing. I don't even know if he actually won an MVP.
Roberto Clemente, did he win a World Series MVP?
But that's the thing. Like, with Stargell, with the teams they had, I mean, he may not have won one.
Not sure I'm digging that frozen look of Dave Gurggles Gergely here as we trying to continue with the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge.
He's not frozen.
As soon as that woman showed up in the background and your ether cable kicked in there, Lubie, all of a sudden we have lost contact with one Dave Gurggles Gergely. But I believe we can go to the spots. So let's do that, and we'll play some more people. 954-417-0070. Is this not a good omen for the Tony Bruno Sports Network show? But he has a whole other thing going. He's in a trailer somewhere in Miami Lakes, on the borderline of Hialeah. And we'll try to get Dave Gurggles Gergely back here on the show in just a minute. You can dial us up if you want to play. 954-417-0070. Clemente, but that was that the regular season MVP he's talking about? Gurggles said World Series MVP.
Yes. Gurggles was looking for the first Latin World Series MVP.
Yes, so if Clemente won it in 71, the Pirates, did they win the 71 World Series? I want to say no to that.
I'm going to look for it.
Okay. All right. And he may have been the first Latin MVP, but I'm not sure it was World Series. That was the distinction there.
That was the question, yeah.
All right, we'll come back with more. How about Lenny challenging right away on the air there? He was like Giannis Antetokounmpo yesterday. Gets thrown out of a game. Did you see this, Lubie? I mean, he gets thrown out of a game. He gets a second technical literally for nothing in this game. Now the NBA has a real problem, and I think there should be an investigation into Scott Twardowski, the official who gave the two technicals. Now, he had given a technical to Giannis earlier in the game, and so all these people have paid like $600 a ticket to see this ball game involving the Milwaukee Bucks, and the people that tuned in on TV are getting robbed of seeing Giannis Antetokounmpo. And there are two reasons to tune in to see the Milwaukee Bucks, well, maybe three. You have Damian Lillard, Lubie's favorite non-Heat player. You have Antetokounmpo, and then you have the people that hate the Bucks that just tune in to see them lose. That's it, right?
Yes.
All those people that get jobbed, I mean, that were tuning in to see Antetokounmpo. I don't know that I want to watch the Bucks without him.
No,
you saw what they were. I mean, they were losing to the Heat in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, they're boring. So Roberto Clemente did, in fact, win the MVP in the 1971 World Series. So I don't know where that question came from, but that's 10 years before 1981.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a choice, but it wasn't a choice. So at least, we didn't give you a choice that was wrong. Our first choice is Guerrero was the right.
Mayo's obsessed with this standard time thing. What is wrong with this man?
Is he texting? Oh, is this Mayo?
He's on a chat line here, and he still won't let it go. I mean, let it go, Michael. It's meaningless. Everybody knew what we were talking about.
The thing is, we need. Well, then let's make that the good time. Whatever the fuck the good time is, that's what we're saying. Let's make that the good time. Let's not keep switching.
It doesn't matter. Just don't change it. Yeah, I mean, if you want to leave it this way, that's fine too. Well, whatever.
It's fine. So that's
just nuts. Yeah.
That's standard. Or then let's keep.
Who would argue over that though for like days on end?
Fucking psycho.
No wonder he drove his ex-wife away. My God.
And also, Gurggles' video is out again.
It's out. Okay, so we'll come back. He says he can see us. We can't see him.
It's usually an internet issue when your internet's not strong enough. Doesn't. It's like we learned with you sometimes where we lose you.
Very disjointed, show so far today, I would have to say. But the Mayo website, is he going to dwell on this for an hour today? I mean, while we're reading at Gilbert's?
We'll be at Gilbert's.
I hope. Yeah. It's a silly argument, though, right? I mean, he gets into this when he's with these let's eat.
We weren't fighting him. That's the thing is, he was like fighting himself. We don't care what
we don't care.
We want. We want
what you want. Yeah, okay. So we might have been, referencing something that was in the past. I don't know.
We can try.
Blank screen. Yeah.
It's doing the buffer sign. So I presume.
Okay. All right. Maybe that'll happen by the time we come back. All right. What a mess. We'll be back with more in a moment. Now that. Obsessed, Mayor. You'd think we were talking about crunchy bread and Skyline chili here. My God.
Exactly.
What trivial things to hang on to. It's got to move on, Mike. You got to move on. It's 8:40.
It makes me laugh.
Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
The big show, ladies and gentlemen, and best use of the foreign object. It's my favorite piece of equipment, the foreign object. What was the best use of it you've ever seen?
The best use, I have a couple all-time favorites. I used to love the Muda mist to the face, that green mist.
Oh, Kevin Sullivan?
Kevin Sullivan used it, but it started by the great Muda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Kevin Sullivan, yes, would use that because, Kevin Sullivan would steal anything from anyone. Yeah.
Once he went over to the dark side.
Well, yeah, once he was to the dark side.
Were you ever tempted to go dark side?
Me, I've had more turns than NASCAR. Are you kidding me?
Have you ever at dinner started a conversation by saying, McMahon?
Oh my
Just
gosh,
out of habit.
Oh yeah. For a while, we'd say our prayer before we ate our food was, "Thank you, Lord Vince, for this beautiful bounty for which we're about to receive."
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Hey, there he is.
I'm going to call
All
him.
right, he's back. You ever notice that our most intellectual, deepest, and entertaining conversations are always with professional wrestlers, Louie?
If you want to get Lenny back, I'll give him another question.
No, it's fine.
No, that's okay. He's out.
Points.
Like when Pacino said to Duval there, you're out. It's over. It's over, Johnny. It's over. All right. We didn't mean to deny him that, but did you not say World Series MVP? Latin World Series MVP?
He was the World Series MVP. Clemente.
Yes. He was the World Series MVP?
It should have been
after Clemente. Freeze up City here with Dave Gurggles Gergely. All right. Well, we'll see if we can make this happen, David. You're out in a trailer somewhere in the middle of the woods. Is that what happened here?
There it is.
I'm right here.
In and out. Things are blinking. All right, let's try another one here. 954-417-0070. We'll see if we can get through this thing. And I was very optimistic about today. Lubie told me he had done something that would enhance the overall programming that we have. We've been trying to correct this problem with Tony Bruno, and they suggested something that seemed bizarre, but it seemed to be working. And then, the whole thing has been going to shit ever since. So here we go. Our next set of questions, Dave Gurggles Gergely. Unless he's frozen in time again. He is.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Such ugliness.
Since he's gone to this, they haven't.
We have to just award the prize to Lenny, which would really be a turn of events, would it not?
They have him in a trailer, and you want to talk about bad Wi-Fi connections? I guarantee it's nowhere near the goddamn modem.
Yeah. You would have to think
like that. So what it is he's not getting good. We are. I think what the issue we're having there is not ours, but he isn't. I don't think he's getting the connection. So what happens is like halfway through the time, it does what it's doing now, where it's just buffering. Like it's just.
All right. And should we try an audio only? What do you think, or just back?
I just don't think it works audio. Like that's the thing is like he's not. If it's doing the buffering sign, that means he's not there.
All right.
Like it's strong enough for him to
Let's
see
scrub
him.
it.
We're not going to see him.
I have to make an executive decision here, Lubie. I say bag it. You say?
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean,
bag it.
Yeah, it's not working. It's fine.
Bag it. All right, we bag it. All right, it wasn't working. There's much to talk about anyway. Sorry about that, people. It's just one of those things. Worse than cell phone crap out on a radio show is a Wi-Fi wear out on one of these shows, and we just couldn't make the good solid connection with Dave Gurggles Gergely. All right, Wemby at the Garden last night. We talked with Mike Vaccaro on our radio show on the Tony Bruno Sports Network about the Victor Wembanyama debut at Madison Square Garden. And this was in yesterday's New York Post as it was a preface and a setup, a little bit of a scene setter type of story by Mike Vaccaro, who joined us on the radio show. And that was the one thing that came through loud and clear, at least so I thought. Certainly was good for me yesterday, the whole experience there with Mike Vaccaro. And he was brilliant. There were resilient topics. We didn't even get to them all, right? We didn't get to Rick Pitino with Mike Vaccaro yesterday. As St. John's, did they not come out and bludgeon somebody in their first game?
Stony Brook Tuesday.
Stony Brook?
Yeah, Stony Brook.
Stony Brook Field's a basketball team?
Yes, they do. And they're there to get pounded by St. John's.
Did they not have some kind of bizarre run where in basketball or football, Stony Brook, an improbable entry into, I'm going to say basketball. It's not that hard to put together a basketball team, Lubie. You only need a couple of guys that can really do it. Pitino has written an open letter to the St. John's followers and all of the basketball people that follow him that appeared in today's New York Post. I'll get to that. But the Wembanyama debut at the Garden, not exactly awe-inspiring, Lubie. Now, it seems like most people are of the consensus that this guy is going to be great. But, and San Antonio was a god-awful team. He ends up in a circumstance where it probably isn't easy to shine right away, night after night. Popovich seems to be the kind of guy. I mean, generally, it was regarded that Wembanyama going to San Antonio was a real plus for his career because Pop was going to be reinvigorated, re-inspired, and he would be the perfect guy, had the right mental approach and temperament to guide this guy through his first rookie season, which, you're playing 82 games, different level of competition than he faced in France. Those Frenchies weren't as tough all the way through. When you looked at the rosters of the teams that he was going against, certainly didn't pack the same ammunition. I probably shouldn't say that since the Heat played the Grizzlies last night with Jean Morant sitting out 25 games with his gun fantasies. But nonetheless, Wembanyama, not exactly an awe-inspiring debut. Popovich, the announcers were alluding to the idea that Popovich, and it sounded like a very, sound philosophy. It sounded like a sound philosophy. Is that a little redundant, Lubie? It appeared to be a sound philosophy that he was going to let Wembanyama just kind of go out there and do his thing for a while before he got into all kinds of subtle critiques of ways that he can improve. He was going to try and let him just go out there as an NBA player and try to apply his game and get a feel for what worked and what didn't, and a feel for what it was all about. And the pace of the game, I would imagine, is a little bit quicker than anything he's experienced before. And look, you could have a guy, that guy Hartenstein on the Knicks. Are you familiar with him? He's not a bad player.
He's okay.
Not a bad player. I mean, if you're looking at backup center or somebody that's going to come in with your second unit and man the post, Hartenstein hustles. He has a little bit of an element of toughness. Is he the most athletic guy? No, but is he unathletic? You would have to say that he's a very functional second-tier player as a guy that comes in with your backup unit in the NBA. Very important component of being a successful NBA team. There's one series where Wembanyama comes back into the game. He was 1 for 9 in the first half shooting.
Jesus.
And 0 for 4 on three-point attempts. And had, I believe, 4 points at halftime. Not exactly making you think back and wiping out memories of Wilt Chamberlain's first appearance there, which Mike wrote about. Wilt had 43 points in his initial game. This was Wilt's first appearance anywhere as an NBA player. And he had 43 points and 28 boards and powered the Philadelphia Warriors to a 118-109 win over the Knicks that night. That was, hey, when was that, Defo?
Exactly.
That was October 24th, 1959. I was 8 years old when that took place, Lubie. Probably not even aware that basketball was being played on the NBA professional level. And as much of a sports fan as we were, I guess we probably knew about it. Full house there, 15,527. I would think this was met with equal or even more fanfare, Lubie, because the NBA is so much in the international spotlight, and Wembanyama naturally is an international player, having played in France. He's only 19 years old. We have to take that into account. Had 38 points in a game last week and had a monster performance, but was less than stellar last night. And the Knicks handled the San Antonio Spurs with relative ease. He did come back in the second half and straighten things out a little bit. I think he might have figured in with double digits in terms of points by the end of the ball game, but it wasn't like anything substantial. And whatever points he accumulated in the second half, the Spurs made a little bit of a move.
He had 14 and 9. He had 14 and 9.
Okay, that was after an abysmal first half where he had 4 points, so came back with 10. But we're looking at it going, this isn't at this point. I mean, maybe you have to give him a few years because these guys were older. They both played. I want to say both Jabbar and Wilt played 4 years of college ball.
Yes, and it was a different era.
And the big man was more dominant back then too, and had the ball more often.
The big man was more dominant. They had the ball more, and you asked less of them. I'm not one of these guys that doesn't appreciate Wilt, and I think Kareem belongs equal to Jordan and LeBron in the best of conversation.
Yeah,
especially when you talk about entire lifetime. Like, he was the best high school player ever. He was the best college player ever, and he possibly the best NBA player ever. But the competition, you asked him to go down there, shoot close, play some defense. You're asking bigs to switch off now. You're asking bigs to pass way more than you ever did.
He's on the outside a lot too. I mean, you can't just sit there in the paint.
Offensively and lead offenses on the perimeter, and you're then asking them to shoot threes. Like, you're asking them to do a lot more, and you're playing other bigs who are just even the guys who suck as bigs are still
like Hartenstein. I mean, you would not say he's one of the great centers of all time, but he just jams. He's playing defense against Wembanyama. Wembanyama makes kind of a weak effort to catch a pass. Hartenstein hammers him, gets the ball, leads a fast break, and then runs down the court and is on the receiving end of a trailer pass where, the guy who had the ball and we had originally advanced it to sees him coming down the middle of the lane uncontested, flips it back to him, and he slams home a dunk. And you're asking yourself, where is Wembanyama?
He's 19.
Thank heaven for little girls. Right? You're singing French show tunes.
Only New York fans would treat this guy like he's been in the league 8 years. This is his 5th game, and he's 19. And the fact that he already has a game with 38 and 14 tells you what the fuck he's going to be. Like, I don't have the same expectations of him.
I don't know that it's a New York thing so much. I mean, the league and fans around the league and media people, there were 30 reporters at the shoot-around for San Antonio at Madison Square Garden yesterday. 30 different reporters. The most that has shown up there, since, I don't know. I mean, probably since Bill Bradley was playing there. There was so much attention being paid to Wembanyama. He didn't have a particularly strong game. He's been a little inconsistent, you would have to say. I mean, that 38-point game seemed to be the exception more so than the rule.
Yeah.
He's had a few games in the 20s. He had one nice move in the ball game last night, early in the second half. But as you look at what he's doing so far, I mean, here's Wilt debuts with like 43 points, 28 rebounds.
Yeah,
Jabbar, you knew, was going to be an unbelievable presence and factor in the league right from the very beginning, no? Hakeem, when he came into the league, did he light it up right away?
No, him and Ewing, again, remember, their offense sucked coming out of college. Yeah. So, it's funny when we look at them now as two of the better big man scorers, shooters ever. When Ewing got that 15-footer down, it was automatic his last 2 years. Olajuwon is the epitome of what we compare Jokic a lot of the time because...
and more maybe to Antetokounmpo because, both refine their games as pros.
He was a great passer later in his career, and he had the dream shake where he was unstoppable as a shooter, but coming out of Houston, that was not the case. Like, I'm not trying to defend Wembanyama. I'm the one that said.
What about the Big E, Elvin Hayes? He wasn't really. I mean, I guess he was a center, but But I mean, he, you looked at him and you thought, wow, this guy's going to be just an immediate sensation in the NBA, the Big E. He wasn't. He's never mentioned. I don't know. His pro career probably wasn't as outstanding as people might have thought it was going to be. Elvin Hayes. I have to look up his stats here, but he has never mentioned Elvin Hayes as one of the greats of the game. Is he in the top 50 all time? The Big E, Elvin Hayes. Remember him coming out of college? You would have thought, wow, this guy's going to dominate as a pro.
I know he's a Hall of Famer. My thing, look, I'm not even trying to defend Wembanyama. I'm the one that said in the beginning when everyone's going crazy, he's going to be great. Like, I have no doubt about it. Yeah. But look at his size and these expectations. And he's on a team that sucks. Like, he's not even on a team that's like young, but they have some fun. Like, the Spurs suck. Like, the Spurs.
They don't look like they have much. Who's the guy with the white hair? He's a black guy, and he dyed his hair.
They have Vassell, the former Knoll, who's actually pretty good. But the rest of the team, like,
he's not bad.
The Pistons are a suck-ass team, but they have a lot of young, fun guys. Where if Wembanyama went in there, they would have been really interesting. Like
Cade Cunningham is, living up to the anticipation that some people had for him, and having. At least what I've seen of him, a breakthrough year. He had like 30-something last night.
Look at the Rockets, another shitty team, but they're young, and they've, unlike the goddamn Spurs, had really good drafts where like they have all these young guys that are really good. Like the Spurs haven't. The Spurs have a shitty ass team. So to me, it's going to take him 2 or 3 years to be this thing everyone expects him to be. Like he's not LeBron. Like he's going to be expected to be a big and do all these other things with no one around him.
Yes.
He's doing more he's doing more than I thought he would do. The fact that even he had 138-14 game to me in the first 10 is impressive from a guy that has no help and everyone is expecting him to be fucking LeBron or Jordan.
It would have to be a major adjustment, don't you think? As a 19-year-old to, like you said, it's not like he went to the Celtics. And was going to be surrounded by, top caliber outside perimeter players. If he has Tatum and Jaylen Brown, how much more effective is he as an inside player? He doesn't really, look that imposing. He spends a lot of his time on the perimeter.
Yep.
Almost Porzingis-esque.
100%.
Yeah. And look, even Porzingis, so far in the games I've seen and the box scores I've taken note of, is a monster compared to what he was in previous stops with the Knicks and he was all right with the Wizards last year, but
he was the Mavs. He was the Knicks. Remember the Knicks year one, he was great. They literally called him a fucking unicorn. But he couldn't stay healthy, and that's the thing. I don't give a shit what he does with the Celtics. I'm waiting.
Plus, he was strange. I think that also helped.
He was weird.
As serve as a catalyst for his exit from the Knicks. He had some weird brother he was being influenced by that the Knicks weren't particularly happy about. And, the Knicks are always under immense scrutiny, so they can't afford to mess around with a guy forever. Although you say that they're wasting their time with Julius Randle, which I don't know what options they have.
No one wants him. He's fine on the Knicks. It's just like this idea that they're going to use him as like a linchpin. They don't have a guy that's a linchpin trade piece for an Embiid. That's my only question about them. They could get Embiid. The Heat really don't want him. Like a lot of teams are weird about Embiid. He's a superstar player that fucks around in the playoffs and always gets hurt. So like I don't know if teams are going to be running to get Embiid. The Knicks could. I just don't know what they have left after some of the moves. Like I know they have a lot of first round picks. The Sixers don't want that. The Sixers want to compete now. So
yeah. Well, it will occur though. I think somewhere down the road. This is my prediction on the NBA. Call me Stephen A. Smith. I don't have inside information on this, but the Knicks somewhere about 4 years from now will have Embiid, an aging Embiid at center, being backed up by Victor Wembanyama. That would be, if you listen to the fans and thought that they had any credibility whatsoever in terms of their thought process, that's what's going to happen because they get every player. Everybody thinks they're going to get everybody. It's the same thing all throughout New York, right? Where, you look at any deal that takes place in any sport, who's in contention to get this new Japanese hotshot? The Knicks and the Mets. That's what they're speculating in New York after the GM meetings. What's the guy's name? He's like a 5'10" pitcher.
I don't know.
I heard some concern that maybe he doesn't have the physicality to stand up. What are we talking about here? Stroman, 5'10", the guy is. Maybe Johnny Cueto. The Knicks and the Yankees think that they're going to get this guy. By the way, they're harpooning Brian Cashman all over the place.
He's done, and I love it. And Vaccaro wasn't actually defending him; he was just saying
Yamamoto. is the guy's name.
Yeah, like the former Marlin, Jordan Yamamoto, who ended up being a disaster.
Jordan Yamamoto. This is Yoshinobu Yamamoto, headed to the major leagues after winning the pitching triple crown, wins, ERA, strikeouts in each of the last 3 seasons in Japan. But there are concerns because he's only 5'10", Libby. The short guy never gets the credit that, never gets the benefit of the doubt.
Pitchers, but, I mean, I guess it does matter. I don't know. There have been plenty of short pitchers.
All right, well, we were a little short today with Dave Gurggles Gergely. We don't know what we're going to do about that, but we'll figure it out. And we will join you tomorrow. We'll have a Degenerate Friday edition of the program. Should have our handicappers. Greek's been hot. Mark Lawrence has been on his game, and the professor trying to fight his way through what for him is a major slump in terms of on-air
reputation. Fucked him because remember, he doesn't. If you force dogs, it may help you. He doesn't care if his dogs are favorites. He goes with the bets that he thinks are going to work. And there's like 10 good teams is sort of fucking him. Like Oklahoma should have kicked Oklahoma State's ass. Oklahoma State sucked for the first half of the year. Well, they don't suck now. And Oklahoma is falling a little bit on hard times. So
he doesn't like Mike Gundy, though. I mean, he would always pick against Oklahoma State, I think. The professor.
Well, no, because it got fucked. Because the 1 year that we had with Brandon Weeden, Oklahoma State was a juggernaut. They played really fucking great. Yeah. And then they lost to an average OU team at the end. So, Ken will hold these grudges. I know about Ken, degenerates. I've learned from him. Degenerates will hold grudges about bets. And teams. Like if a team fucked you 20 years ago, you're like, fuck that team.
Yes. You'll bet against them every time, even though they kill you every time. It's very much like staying married, Libby. And seeking happiness. All right, we're going to get out of here for today. We'll have a Degenerate Friday. Apologize for the glitches with Dave Gurggles Gergely. I think we were going to be off and running with that thing, with the Chronic striking out, and then some controversy about the question and the answer, and the Chronic insisting he was right, probably being right.
Was right.
Gurggles having to backtrack and qualify the question with yet another clarification, and we still ended up with a omelet on our face. So on that note, we will have everybody. We wish you a great day, and we will see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
The hell was that, Libby? That whole thing. It's 9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.